All right, people, here we go. It is now a Friday, if you can believe this. That is right, Friday, December the 27th. It's another edition of the NBA Tip-Off Show. It is powered by WagerTalk.com, and it's very good. Our silver alerts have located a few more people to be able to bullshit with us here today. As much as you guys love Tony, Finn, and I throwing rocks at each other all day, we went out and got ourselves a doctor, and we found Rob Veno. We got a full panel here again to go for a 6-game slate tonight in the NBA, coming off a interesting night, a brick of a night, Brooklyn. An interesting card there. Some of the games, of course, Tony and I, we covered yesterday. And we'll go around the horn here, gentlemen. Couple of thoughts about what we witnessed last night. And I think, of course, the battle for New York was very interesting from the standpoint of, Tony will be the first person to tell you, towels up with the Knicks. I don't know what we're going to get. If we got more of what we get like we saw last night, it could be a very profitable, situation there moving forward with the Knicks. But I don't know, Tony. Brooklyn they were due, I guess, for a game. I just didn't think they'd be that bad last night. No,
we spoke to the fact that our big question yesterday, because we were trying to find space fillers since it was just me and you.
Yeah, since nobody else showed up.
Yeah, right.
No, I got you. Yep, I got you.
We were talking, is Kyrie going to fit in? How much better are the Nets going to be when Kyrie's back? Because at this point in time, they're without him, they're probably a 7 or 8 seed at best. Yep. So, of course, we had no answers to that. That's yet to be determined, obviously, but they can't be any worse than they were last night.
No, they were terrible, and Rob, it was it was a rough one for Brooklyn last night. Knicks, listen, some of the bottom feeders starting to pull up. We had Golden State there on Christmas, right? Get a win. Now all of a sudden the Knicks are piling up wins here. Listen, before we know it, these teams are going to have double-digit wins, Rob. We're not going to know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. The Knicks have actually climbed the power rating scale a little bit since Mike Miller has taken over as head coach. More good performances than bad, for sure. Last night's defensive performance came from left field. I have no idea how they hold anybody to 82 points, but I guess if you blindfold Brooklyn and let them take the floor that way, you can get 8 field goals, as Chuck mentioned off air here. You know what I found most interesting last night, guys, is something to look forward, not forward to, but something to look at in the future, being proactive. The Sacramento Kings game last night, they lose De'Aaron Fox during the game. Mm-hmm. They lose Marvin Bagley during the game. And today, this morning, Buddy Hield comes out and throws gasoline on the fire, saying that there's severe trust issues with the Sacramento Kings. He gets benched for the entire fourth quarter the other night. He plays only 4 minutes in the fourth quarter last night of a double overtime game, and pointing fingers at, you can't really tell who, because he doesn't describe whether it's players, whether it's management, but in his words, this team has trust issues, and it seems as if there's a little something going on in that locker room. That's been a funny team all year long. We've talked about them before, that Luke Walton, to start the year, wanted to run the offense through De'Aaron Fox. It started to work. De'Aaron Fox got hurt. They survived those injuries to Bagley and Fox. Those guys come back. They played worse. Mm-hmm. And now Hield, with his comments. So I don't know what to make of Sacramento, but I don't want any part of them coming up here in the near future. That's for sure.
Yeah, you lose in double overtime, and Finn and I talked about that under yesterday. And double overtime, they still didn't sniff the under, which cracks me up. But another game that the number was up there, and they didn't even come close. And I know, Doc, you were all over this here, Dr. Chuck. The Mavs last night and the Spurs. Another game that we thought would be creeping into that 220 mark. I mean, hell, the Spurs just dropped a $145 on Memphis the other night. Gave up 115 in the meantime, but a little hard time getting to 100 points last night on the road. Welcome back, Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and I can't explain exactly what happened at the end. We were discussing that off air as well. I think the Mavs just kind of called it. They had the W, and they just let the Spurs do whatever they wanted. I think it's going to make a lot of sore people this morning who had Mavs -6 or 7, and they're covered by twice that and then only won by 4 points. But I mentioned a lot on the show that I really like going one way or the other based on the previous game, and the Spurs kind of just played completely out of their minds. Grizzlies or not, you score almost 150, it's pretty hard to duplicate that.
Yep.
And that was one of the reasons that I just thought, I luckily only released Mavs first half last night and got a little break there with Porzingis, but just don't like to back a team coming out off the bat like that. And I mean, I wouldn't have probably gone for the under for the full game, as easy as that was. But yeah, I mean, it was a weird night with how bad the total was in the New York battle, and then 2 overtimes, can't get there. To Rob's point with Sacramento, I'm wondering, it'll be interesting to see when they play how it'll be adjusted to, how the line will be adjusted to what has just happened. I mean, it's just such a terrible look with at home. Injuries or not, you're a pretty decent covering team, you're a pretty decent squad, and you lose to Minnesota without Karl Anthony Towns on your floor. I mean, I expect there to be an overreaction almost.
Yep, and there's going to be some reactions, especially to what we witnessed now that we're past Christmas here, guys. Really the unofficial start of the NBA season, Tony Finn. And in true to form there last night, we got another over with the Trailblazers and the Jazz. Very unlike, I just don't know what to make with these two teams. Utah frustrates the crap out of me. We should just probably start playing them in the first half, because that seems to be what we can get. We can't trust them in the second half, Tony.
Hey, you make fun of them.
Yeah.
Well, we did. Let's put it this way. I did cover.
Yeah.
My clients covered, and it's again, what can we say? It was sure entertaining. If any of you watched that game, if any of it had action -5, there was absolutely zero concern when you're up by 23 in the middle of the third, and you get outscored. What I think it was 17 or 20-3 to start the fourth, and all of a sudden it's a game again. So for both sides, both fan bases, it was an exciting game, a game that Portland showed their offensive prowess, and Lillard was stupid, unconscious, hit, just some turnarounds, two hands in his face, one knee in his groin, still making the shots. So it is, guys, and I think you'll agree, this is the be it good or be it bad, the evolution of the NBA. It's no longer blood, sweat in the paint.
Yeah.
It is, can you make that 3-point shot?
Yeah, and Rob, I don't know what to make anymore of Detroit. We talked about it, Tony and I, yesterday. Outside of being home, don't even bother looking at Detroit, I think, is probably a good rule of thumb. But, I mean, they dropped 132 on what? Now, Washington, we know, ain't playing defense to begin with. But the Pistons, I didn't think they had 132 points in them last night.
Yeah, and I think they put up 46 threes in that game last
It's
night, which
like,
is, for the Pistons. And when I looked at the box, I had to take a double look at that. 46 threes by them is usually Griffin and Drummond and, anybody else that wants to follow him. With Luke Kennard out for a couple of weeks, you're really surprised to see that many threes chucked up there. But they did, and like you said, Joe, it's the Wizards.
Yep.
And I guess you can play free and loose against the Wizards whenever they're visiting your building, or even if you're visiting theirs, and you're going to score your share of points. So, it's taken a couple of games for Griffin to get back into the, let's say, game mode.
Sure.
He had a horrible game against the Sixers a couple days back, and slowly, gradually, he's working his way in. So maybe they'll be a little bit better, but I know Ski has mentioned that on this show before, that if Detroit's not home, he's not looking, and, it's hard to argue that right now, because that's the only place where they're playing decent basketball.
Yep, so true there. And it's an abbreviated card here tonight, guys. 6 games here that we will get to. Also, a number of injuries starting to pop up, so we'll go over those as well. We'll try to get to as many of these games as we can. Want to remind you, of course, WagerTalk.com is where you can find our good friend Tony Finn here. Plays available tonight all weekend long at WagerTalk.com. And, of course, Dr. Chuck and Rob available over at SportsMemo.com. That's where you can find those guys not only tonight, but all weekend long. All your plays available there over at SportsMemo.com. And, guys, I'll start with one of the big interesting news here. Came down about an hour or so ago that looks like the Greek Freak Giannis is out, or doubtful. They're putting it out there as he's getting ready to be on the road taking on the Hawks. I don't know, maybe his ego's hurt tonight, but it opened up as a 12-point road favorite in Atlanta. that news breaks. I'm seeing a lot of 8s across the board. I'm seeing the total was almost 240. It's now down to 234. So, Tony, I'll start with you, man. No Giannis here tonight on the road. Still Atlanta. Still a big total. What do you think of this game?
Well, I think Philly painted a trustworthy and accurate blueprint of how you want to play Milwaukee. You don't want to run with Milwaukee. You don't want to play up tempo with Milwaukee, and you want to attack the paint at every opportunity. Mm-hmm. Atlanta's not capable of doing either one of those. I mean, they'll run. Atlanta will try to dictate pace on their home floor, and you're supposed to be able to do that as a home team. However, I don't want to blur anybody's vision. Not that I could, but this Atlanta team is just not trustworthy. I don't know at this point in time give me some evidence, guys. Give me some evidence that we can trust the Hawks at home or away. I feel that way about Dallas. I trust them much more away than I do at home, and the point spread, or at least the handicap, is typically, I think, a lot fair when you're supporting the Mavericks or playing against them for that matter. But back to the Hawks. What this team's not the healthiest team. I don't think they're the healthiest team. I don't think that. I don't think their point guard, their floor general, for that matter of fact, the way he plays is a little reckless and it's crazy and it's fast. And the longer or the farther we get into the season, the less I'm probably going to like the Hawks unless something seriously changes. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, they not exactly great in the first half, their numbers as well here during the season. They're 5-9 against the number there, Dr. Chuck. And listen, the Hawks, what are you going to get from the Hawks? You never know what you're going to get from the Hawks here. They're capable of putting up 140 points, but they're also capable of giving up 140 and scoring 80. Very confusing team this year to me.
Absolutely, yeah. And Tony brought this up before, and it's so interesting that I don't know how much of that was already declining on the price, but Giannis, and for this team, and Giannis is worth 4 points. Mm-hmm. That's, I don't know, it screams to me, like Tony said, I mean, good God, you're getting the Bucks at what a bargain price for 8 points. And I want to get into a little bit later why Giannis's pride might be hurt. I want to discuss that a little bit about me and my cheers.
Yeah, but, so we're going to go ahead and move over to Rob here. Rob, let's see. Go ahead, Doc. Yeah, we got you. Never screw with the guy who controls the cameras, all right? Never mess with him.
And don't mess with Cameroon. That's right. No. But anyway, so Ski has said without Giannis, it's hard to back the Bucks, especially on the road, just because so much seems to go through Giannis. But, I mean, a lot of what went wrong in that game on Christmas was that. And I mean, I don't know why he's sitting out, but he took so many shots. The rest of the team shot really well. And the Hawks aren't going to stop George Hill and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton from piping a bunch of threes all night. And you only have to lay 8 points against a team with 6 wins. And a team that's coming off of a loss. Like, I don't know. This feels like just an unbelievable price that I'm wondering if people are going to overlook.
No Greek freak here, Rob. What do you think? Influencing the way you look at this? I mean, single digits, 8 points. They should be, with or without him, they should be able to handle the Hawks, no?
Yeah, especially off of the disappointing loss the other day. I'm sure that they'll be motivated here. And, you know, Joe, I'll take it a step further because Chuck about the side, but I'll talk about the total here. And when they were missing Giannis for a couple of games a couple of weeks ago when we were on this show, talked about their depth, which, you know, Chuck just described a few of their scores, but they're so deep, it really doesn't matter. When Giannis was out, they were scoring 120-plus anyway. The other day against Philadelphia, it was commented on quite a bit during the broadcast about how he had possibly a back injury. He didn't look right in that game whatsoever. Of course, Embiid schooled him. Maybe that had something to do with it, but that's why he's sitting out tonight, according to injury reports, is the back. But when he didn't play the majority of the fourth quarter, you know what happened? Milwaukee scored 36 points. So it doesn't really matter as far as point production is concerned. And to Tony's point, the way the Hawks play defense, the way they can't control anything in the paint, or from the perimeter for that matter, I don't know. To have this total come down 6 points probably makes that a bargain as well as the side. So I would look both of those ways. I'd look toward Milwaukee, and I'd look toward the total. 234 in a Hawks game is, usually a number that can be accomplished. I'm going to run some first half numbers by you, though, real quick here that are somewhat contradictory. The Hawks at home are 7-0 under in the first half, their last 7 games. Not only are they 7-0 under, they're 12-2 under for the season, which is really contradictory when you're talking about the Hawks. However, 3 of their last 4 games overall have gone over 130 points in the first half. So do you want current form or do you want home court form would be the question there. Obviously, with Collins back, maybe current form. The earlier meeting against the Bucks, they played here in Atlanta. That was one of the 2 games that went over the first half total, 61-58, halftime 119. So some stuff there to sift through, but I think if you're playing the game, from my angle, I like the over.
Don't forget, this was, guys, a team, if I'm not mistaken, in the Hawks that just gave up 143 points to the Knicks not too long ago. Over also 7-1 in the Hawks' last 8 versus the Eastern Conference, 17-5 to the over in their last 22 games as an underdog. So something new, like Rob said there, something to chew on in some of this game here, but it certainly seems like the consensus is you might be getting a bargain here, single digits, simply because Giannis is not available for this game tonight. Somebody that will be in since the doctor keeps sucking his ass every chance he gets. So let's talk about the Sixers on the road traveling to Orlando here, Tony Finn. And I think we can all agree that the Sixers are very interesting at home, different on the road, but I think we can say the same thing. Orlando, a much different team at home than they are also on the road. They find themselves at home in this one. I'm looking at a 4 or 3.5 there. Sixers on the road favorite here, -4, -3.5. 209, 208.5 is the total there, Finn. Do you like the Sixers on the road in this spot in Orlando?
I'm wishy-washy on that for certain.
That's a shock.
I find that number. I found last night when I looked at this game, I looked at all the NBA games thoroughly. I dug deep, so I wanted to get away from studying college football for a while, and so I dug into the NBA, and I found the number at that time last night was 2.5, I think, and the total was 210. I found the total 210 pretty interesting, and this Orlando team, and I wrote this Orlando Magic team isn't going to win games by outscoring their opponents, and of course that sounds it's somewhat of an oxymoron, because the team that scores the most points wins, right? But they create their points by pressure defense, and this Philly team, and what I trust the Magic, the big Vuk's back. I trust the Magic to control the tempo, to force Philly to beat them from the perimeter. And in turn, I like the under 210. As you can see now, it's down to 208.5, 209s, and I thought the 210 was a good number to play to the bottom side of.
Interesting. I will say this here, Dr. Chuck. 76ers on the season away, 10-5 to the over in the first half. They seem to have done some of their damage pretty well in the first half, hitting the over 10 out of 15 times. So I don't know. Do you like Philadelphia? Because I know how much you love Embiid, and I can smell it from here. So tell me, what do you think about this game here tonight in Orlando?
Well, I'm glad you can after that beating that he Bucks there, as Rob said.
Tears and regret. That's what I'm getting. Tears and regret.
They got outscored 15 points in the fourth quarter and still won by 15. Ooh.
Yeah.
So this is not a good spot, and I don't particularly say that anyone should make bets specifically on spots, but I mean it's similarly to what Rob said about the Bucks coming back and only getting the Hawks tonight, and maybe they're a little more free on offense without Freak out there and Coach Bud and whatnot. But yeah, I would have to say with Tony, I'm wishy-washy because the line kind of stinks. The line obviously is begging you to take the Sixers, and what the public's going to remember is just what I opened by saying in this segment, and I really do not like backing. I mean, this is my team, but I really do not like backing a team that Vegas is begging money for. So, yeah, it'd be Magic or pass, but I do like that underplay. I think that's a little built in, though, unfortunately, too. It's kind of like you said, if the Sixers get off to a hot start, they always kind of let that team come back to them, especially a team that can play defense. And so it would worry me at the end if it's close and becomes a foul shot fest and hack a Ben and Ben makes them and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, begging for money on the Sixers, even when I'm a Sixers diehard, is not the way I'd go.
Each of these, it's funny, over the last 5 games, each of these teams giving up at least 110 points per game there, Rob. It feels like the number's a little bit low, this total, hanging around that 2-0, 2-0, under 210 now. It seems like maybe you're getting some value considering the over 10-4 in the last 14 between these two teams.
Yeah, I somewhat agree, Joe, because the Orlando Magic overall numbers for the season at home would tell you that their game totals hit 203 points or a little above 203 points. And they are widely recognized as a defense-first team. But it hasn't really been the case lately. That road trip, they were hurt badly by, I think that 4-game road swing. They gave up points in all 4 of those games. You know, I'm going to look at this one as a 2-game subset, anti-Philadelphia. I don't know if this is a complete letdown situation.
We go ahead and focus here on you, Rob. Go ahead. Yep, very good.
Yeah, they've got Orlando tonight, Joe, and then they've got your buddies, the Miami Heat, tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And I've got a small play on Orlando tonight, and if that one doesn't come through, I'll have a larger play on Miami tomorrow night because I don't think Philly's covering both of these games. The back-to-backs off of the big win on Christmas Day. I just don't feel like they're going to cover both of these. Both of these teams are more than capable at home. Miami, when they were just in Philadelphia, after being blown out by the Sixers in the first meeting, came back with a huge win. So that'll be a pretty physical battle. But I just don't see Philadelphia covering both. So like I said, I'm going to look at it as a 2-game subset, play against Philly in both. Like I said, I've got Orlando tonight, plus points, and if that fails, I'll come back with Miami tomorrow a little bit stronger.
I like that. All right, don't forget, guys, Rob, Veno, Dr. Chuck, you can catch him at sportsmemo.com. And the legend here, lower right-hand corner, Tony Finn. How do you go wrong with Finn? The Finnmeister, WagerTalk.com is where you can find him. And as we continue to move along the card here, guys, next game up on it will be, and I hate to, I mean, it's funny, Dr. Chuck, you brought it up here, a little recency bias. I know there was a lot of people that watched the Boston Celtics take down the Toronto Raptors there in Game 1 on Christmas, and now they've been blessed with, it's 2 touchdown favorites here against the Cavaliers at home. Total is pushing up a little, opened up at 216, 217 and a half. And, Tony, I mean, let me ask you, we talked about letdown spot possible here for Philadelphia. Is it a possible letdown spot here for Boston?
I could not agree more with that. I mean, if that's what you're claiming, yes, I agree. This is just too many points to lay. As damaged as Boston is, and I don't care who plays, who's active tonight. This team needs they need one of these games where the second rotation gets more minutes, or at least equal minutes to the first rotation. And for Boston and for Brad Stevens, that doesn't mean that they have to be playing Cleveland, that they have to have a 30-point lead. He's another guy that we talked a little bit about how I feel about Doc Rivers and how he coaches during the regular season, how it's so much different than a Walton or so much different than even a Vogel. Every game, what he does is he tries to make his team better, more prepared for June. And unfortunately, I don't think he has a June team per se, because I think they lack the size and beef in the paint. This is a game where I don't trust Boston laying 14 points. I trust them to win tonight, but I don't trust. I'm not laying 14 points against let's just be honest, a very undermanned and out-talented Cleveland roster.
Oh, I like that. Rob, you agree, man? Very outmanned, untalented. Can they win by 2 touchdowns? Would you trust the Celtics in this spot?
I wouldn't. It's a weird start time, right? I mean, this game goes in 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's nuts.
not New Year's Eve or anything. I don't understand why they're playing it so soon. But, Boston does do those things. Maybe they think it's Patriots Day here in December. I'm not sure. I would look toward the over. I might be in fact, I am in a minority, Joe, where I think that Cleveland has young talent. It just hasn't quite performed. It's so young that it hasn't had the opportunity to perform together consistently yet. They do it on an inconsistent basis. Nights when Darius Garland is good, Colin Sexton is usually good, and the backcourt has really big games. I think this game can get over the total. I don't like Cleveland defensively whatsoever. Boston's got plenty of depth, plenty of scoring. Marcus Smart is on the verge of returning. I don't know if it'll be today or over the weekend, but he's on the verge. And Cleveland, like I said, I don't know how interested Boston will be here, so I think Cleveland will get their share of points. To me, the 217 looked a little bit low. I see this game getting up and over 220. So probably a slight play on over, just because I do like the offensive capabilities of Cleveland. Kevin Love's a steady force, and like I say, the young kids on given days, Jordan Clarkson included, you could still count him as a young kid, have the ability to fill up the nets.
What do you think here, Dr. Chuck? Any sort of first half, first quarter, any sort of way to be able to make money on with the Celtics here without having to lay to 14, you think?
No, I would be, this is one of those, if Ski were here, it might be a hell yeah type play. Because, it's just, this is Rob discussed a little bit. I didn't quite get into the fact that it's the Heat and then the blowout and Jimmy and all that stuff going on for the Sixers. But the Celtics have a sandwich game with the Raptors.
Yeah.
Like, they play the Raptors again. And I'll be damned if Brad Stevens lets Marcus Smart play tonight. And that's a good reason for an overplay period if there's no Marcus Smart. And in general, I kind of lean a little more towards Rob's viewpoint with Sexton and Garland. Like, I think that maybe those aren't going to pan out the way they wish they would have probably panned out. And speculating LeBron would leave. But with Love playing also, this 14 points is insane. There's no possible way the Celtics could care about this game. If they're even going to, I think they're going to find themselves down a good bit of this game. But I also think that, a lot of the numbers point to this being an underplay. But Vegas is obviously messing with us a little bit because I don't think the last time these two teams played, they even hit 195. So for them to lay out there, I think it opened 216.
Yep.
There's obviously something, that is making us think, wow, they really wanted some money on the under.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Cavaliers 8-6 to the over on the road this season in the first half. So they do come out swinging sometimes on the road. So it's, and in a letdown spot for Boston, it's an interesting game, but the start time is very weird here. It's you're right about that. They just I don't know. Tom Brady got some sort of parade or something they're doing there. I don't know. Maybe just throwing Tom all sorts of love or something going on there. But we do have game number 4 here tonight. Interesting. Charlotte Hornets taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder, tough beatdown last night by Memphis. So, Tony Finn, back-to-back here for the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road. They opened up, believe it or not, we got a little reverse line going on here. They opened up as a 3-point favorite, OKC. It is now shifted to either a pick'em or -1 for Charlotte at home. And I'm looking for, I don't see any crazy injury announcement unless I'm missing something. So do you agree with the line movement? We'll start there. Do you believe Charlotte should be the favorite at this one?
No.
Yep. Didn't think that was going to happen. Yep.
No.
Yep. It was fairly certain that was coming. Yep.
But this is listen, I like what the Thunder have done this year. Let's just say I don't think they've done anything that created ESPN to do a 30 on 30 or whatever special. I don't think that they're going to take up 10 minutes of a 30-minute episode of SportsCenter. Right. But this is the deal. There's been some regression on Charlotte. Listen, Devontae Graham was fantastic early on. He was making news, especially somebody who, like myself, who is from that area, from that Kansas City area, that Midwest area, and there's hell of a lot of Jayhawk fans, and they get a lot of coverage in that area, good, bad, not only the Jayhawks, but ex-Jayhawks get a lot of coverage. And there's a bunch of Jayhawks in the NBA, a bunch of them. And Devontae Graham was really a liked guy, but if you'll look, he's shooting about, I think over the last 2 weeks, shooting about 27% from the field. Opposing coach is saying, okay, guys, guess what? Yeah. Charlotte is who they are. We need to pay a little more attention to Devontae because he's lighting this shit up. He's lighting the scoreboard up, and he's doing things that he should not do. He's doing things in the NBA that his skill set, listen, is a talented kid, athletic, smiles all the time, likes. He's a social animal and fun to be around. He's not that good. He's not a 40-point NBA player. Neither is Charlotte good enough, in my opinion, to be postseason worthy. And in truth, I think there's something going on here. Listen, I looked at this game, Joe, and you guys, I looked at it, and there's nothing that would lead me to jump on a reverse line movement or being a conspiracy, having some kind of a theory that, hey, the fix is in kind of thing, because Oklahoma City should probably be a 3, 4, 5 point favorite, even in Charlotte, even coming off a home loss. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, this is of course, the second of the back-to-back, and a situation whereby they've only won once in 4 attempts this season, but they are 4-0 against the number in those spots. So it is it is an interesting situation, Dr. Chuck, here. I mean, listen, Charlotte had a nice little Christmas break. They haven't played since December 22nd, so they were able to maybe get a little healthier, breathe a little bit. They've lost their last 3 games, and being home hasn't really mattered much for them. They're 7-9 with home cooking this season. So what do you think here, man? You agree with the line movement? OKC should be the underdog?
So how did Tony do that? Yes.
Yeah.
I do. So basically, another thing, I always love this show because Tony and I have not talked, and I probably couldn't possibly do the opposite of co-sign everything he just said.
Right.
I love the spot. Brian, last time I was on, Brian had mentioned how rare it is to get something like this. I think it was the Cavs game, and they had it was a Spurs game, and they had a 5-day rest advantage. The Hornets have a 4-day rest advantage. And the Thunder, I am not that impressed with. I guess they're doing better than I should have expected, but it's still Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. And, we're acting like Chris Paul's 44 instead of like 34.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I watched SportsCenter last night, and I had the Grizzlies and loved it. You probably already knew that. You didn't have to be on the show to tell you I had the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
And thought that was pretty easy because for some reason they keep giving the Grizzlies 6 or 7 points in these games. I think they're going to win. But the whole coverage of the game was Steven Adams doing the Euro step and Dennis Schroeder jumping up and down in the suit. The guys lost by double-digit points. And the whole SportsCenter thing was about the Thunder. And, I mean, I could have told you exactly what was going to happen today because this line was not right to begin with. And so I'm assuming that's why the line came down. I mean, I would probably have gotten it down. I mean, I wouldn't tell you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that healthy Hornets and healthy Thunder on equal rest are equal on a neutral court, but I totally understand why it's heading towards that. This point, there's a couple of trends also. The Thunder are in a 4-10 spot with that back-to-back against a team with more than 3 days rest, and the Hornets are in an interesting, nice Ralphie position of being out-rebounded by 25 or more in their previous game, and almost always, well, not almost always, but well above 65% of the time, that team, because rebounding is not that much of an aberration, and they still have bigs, and I know Adams is probably going to be the best rebounder, but it just doesn't. Nothing about this makes sense. And unfortunately, by the time this airs, the play I have out for the Hornets +3 will be meaningless. But at least it'll be on tape.
Yes, yeah, at least we can give you credit there. Well, I'll tell you, Rob, 55% of the tickets, 80% of the money on the money line is coming the Hornets' way, as well as 61% of the tickets, 75% of the money. So we see why it's moving in their direction. We've got one yay, one no. What do you say on this? You agree with this line movement?
Well, let's why it happened. I mean, about 1:30 this afternoon, it came down that Dennis Schroeder is questionable with a bad ankle and probably won't play. Mm-hmm. Combine that with Danilo Gallinari, who's probably not going to play. And I'm sure that the line movement started happening about a couple hours ago, and all of a sudden Charlotte money started to pile in because there go two of the best Thunder scorers. Gallinari didn't play last night. They weren't that good offensively. The team, Billy Donovan has started to mold this team around his three guards, Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Schroeder. When you check the boxes, they're usually the guys putting up the shots along with Gallinari. So 2/4 of their scoring is taken away, and P.J. Washington is back tonight for the Hornets. So to Tony's point about Devontae Graham not playing well the past couple of weeks while P.J. Washington has been injured, like in any team sport, when your pieces around you, the good pieces around you are gone, the other team can focus a little more on you. Now, Graham might see a little less in the way of defensive pressure. He might see the same. Teams might continue to focus on him, but Washington should be there to pick up some of the slack. One of the better offensive players, I think the best three-point shooter percentage-wise on that team this year. So the line move is understandable. The question now is whether or not you think Charlotte can win a game as a home favorite against Oklahoma City. And I would tend to, I don't have the total right in front of me right now, Joe, but I would imagine that the total has come down. Last I think I saw some 208.5.
Yeah, opened up at 210.5. It's a significant portion of money coming in on the under here.
Yeah, and I can see that. I would probably play that because Charlotte's an inconsistent shooting team. Washington's first game back, we don't know what we're going to get from him in his first game back. And Oklahoma City will have to rely on their defense in this one. I'm sure they'll slow the game down a little bit and probably try and defend a little more. So for me, it would probably be under, considering the injuries to the OKC side and the return of Washington.
All right, there you go. Next game up here, guys. We are looking... Well, look at that. Indiana Pacers taking on the Miami Heat. And you guys, it's an interesting spot here, guys. It's kind of a game we've been waiting to hear about. Two of the teams that a lot of people put right under, right? That the top echelon there. You got Milwaukee, you got Philadelphia, and Miami and Indiana are right there, right below. And this opened up as the Miami Heat here at the AAA in Miami. Opened up as a 4.5. I'm seeing a lot of 4s. The total has kind of stayed steadfast, 211.5. I'm seeing a lot of 211.5s. I am seeing, as far as the money line goes, I'm seeing Miami getting a 61% of the tickets, 81% of the money, although it does look like, from a spread perspective, 28% of the tickets, 35% of the money on Indiana, which means, what might explain, Tony, why we're seeing the number come down a little bit from 4.5 to 4. Do you like the Heat in this spot? A spot that they have been really good in at home this year, and they have been tough at home.
Yeah, you described it pretty well as far as the money and where it is. It's split between not only the sharps, but it's split really between the public, which surprises me to some degree. Not between the four of us, because I think we all know what Indiana's capable of, right. And I think we all know that we're biting at the bit to see Victor come back and see what this team can actually do, completely as a whole. But this is a tough spot. There haven't been too many teams, good, bad, indifferent, that have gone down to South Beach and been successful. Miami's. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those that really gets involved in the NBA much more as from a investment standpoint after the trade deadline. And I'm very interested to see what this Miami team thinks that they need, or what they believe, what Pat Riley believes that they need to do to be on the same step, the same level, as far as the same mindset as Philadelphia and Milwaukee's in the East.
Yep. It's going to be interesting, too. It's 13-1 is what they are at home. And let me ask you here, Doctor, Dion Waiters is back active. I don't know if that helps make your decision here tonight or not, but Brogdon's still dealing with a hamstring. He's listed as questionable, so he hasn't been ruled out, but it's still up in the air. But either way, Miami Heat have been they've been tough at home. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, and you already touched on the exact reason that I will just be watching this. I mean, unless we find out more information a little bit earlier, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, I can't wait to see what the Pacers are. I can't wait to see if Oladipo immediately makes them better and if they make a move to get up there. You know, if other teams see the way that the Bucks looked on Christmas saying what you can do. I mean, this might be, it's Lakers and Clippers, and that's a lot of fanfare out west. But I mean, there's no series does change things. Best of 7 does make things a lot more difficult. But
sure.
Maybe there's 5 teams that could win that conference. And it's becoming pretty interesting. The Bucks are gonna win 60 some games, maybe in the high 60s. Like they can do it without Giannis, but I see no reason that the Heat -4 now. I see it's sharp money, and you're not going to make money probably fading the sharps on a regular basis. But yeah, it's like you said, it's their home place. The Kings just haven't played on the road a whole bunch recently, and in the last 5 games they lost. They got hammered, and they only won road game, and it's just without Brogdon or without knowing he's going to play. It feels like this might be one of those games that your only chance of covering with the Pacers is some sort of give-up backdoor.
Rob, it's interesting. I'm seeing Justice Winslow. He's still listed as out, but nowhere on the injury report is Goran Dragic. He is back, coming off the bench here, and we all know how ridiculous that is, having him and Tyler Hero come in as the second unit and just pretty much dominate everybody else's second unit in the NBA. So it's good to have him back. Miami at home laying some think would be a short number here, given what we know about Indiana.
Yeah, it's almost as if I just through the screen here handed you my notes, Joe, because that is really my number one thing with the Miami Heat. I like him as a team. I love him when Dragic is playing. He's just such a difference maker. And now that he comes off the bench these last couple of seasons, I think it makes even a bigger difference. To have the productivity off of the bench that they have, and you mentioned Tyler Hero, is huge for the Miami Heat. It's something that they haven't really had in the past. They've been a starting 5, and when they had to go to the bench, it wasn't so great. But when you can bring a guy like him off the bench healthy, it makes a huge difference. He's a starting point guard in the NBA for a lot of teams, coming off the bench for this team. So I do like Miami in this spot, although I'm in love with Indiana. I mean, I've got a high-priced futures ticket on them to win the Eastern Conference because just in preparation of Oladipo coming back, and you can always hedge out of those things. But for tonight's purposes, I think Miami's the right side. Like them at home. Yep. They have a toughness in these big games. This is going to be an important game for, these teams play what are too often referred to as statement games, Joe. I mean, I don't know if I buy all this statement stuff, but let's face it, you're going to get 100% effort out of both sides here, and I just think Miami's effort at home is going to be good enough to cover this spread.
2 very tough-nosed, they're going to punch you in the face, out-hustle you. 2 very gritty teams here. Indiana, by the way, 4-10-1 in their last 15 against the number, against teams with winning records. So they've done really good against those lower-rung teams under 500, but the teams with winning records don't know what it is there, Tony. 4-10-1 against the spread in the last 15 against winning record teams. So they just haven't been able to get over that hump with some of the better teams in the league.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, listen, we've discussed several teams tonight. While the slate's small, you just outlined the problem that a lot of these young teams have. Yeah. That hump, even Charlotte, when Charlotte, both Joe and Doctor mentioned it, when they don't shoot the ball well, they really have a problem making adjustments as a team, as a roster. And good teams, if they're not shooting the ball well, they do a few other things to keep themselves in touch with the score. Maybe the shooting comes back. I don't see that in a lot of teams, the Charlottes, the Clevelands, and I guess that's the records. It's pretty obvious, I should say. The records speak to that. So, your answer is I agree with you.
Keep an eye on that, and of course, final game here on the card, guys, and of course, this will be a significant part of my shits and giggles parlay here tonight. Before we get to that, let me talk about the Golden State Warriors here tonight. 10:30 on the card, gentlemen. They are at home, and don't look now, but not 1, not 2. We are talking in the midst of a 3-game winning streak, including the beatdown of one dude with a beard and another guy that chucks up 175 shots and still scores 30 points, and we all applaud him for some reason. But listen, what can you say? They followed up wins against New Orleans and Minnesota. They beat Houston in convincing fashion on Christmas. D'Angelo Russell, his 4 most recent point totals, guys, 26, 25, 30, and 20. He has been the most consistent that we have seen here in a while with this team, and he's really starting to – it looks like the young guys are really starting to buy in on Golden State here. Having Draymond there, guys are really starting to step up. I think Willie Cauley-Stein adds a lot to that team as well. Don't know if we're going to have Looney back for this, but listen, Phoenix, 3-13 against the number in the last 16 playing, and to the doctor's point, on at least 3 days of rest. They're 2-5 against the number in the last 7 as a favorite. They're a 3.5-point favorite in this game. Tony, talk to me. Yeah. Are you getting on the Golden State Warrior? Are you coming over with me here? What are you doing?
Well, I think I need to bring it on. I think we need to have a
intervention.
We have to have a family vote here.
Okay.
Are we allowed? Are we allowed, guys, to use the word Golden State, or are we still using GS?
After a 3-game winning streak, you bet your ass. We're almost at double-digit wins here.
I said we have. You're not the. Maybe you are the dictator here. You do control the cameras, but this should. I'm gonna do this. I like GS tonight. Ooh. I like GS because of some of the things you said. The real interesting player on this GS team is, and I'll get you guys. I consider all you guys like idiot savants when it comes to the NBA compared to me. And Damian Lee, how about Damian Lee, who scores 22 points, has 15 or 17 rebounds? What was it he had the other day?
Yep.
And the fact that he's on that, it's kind of strange, he's got a maximum of 45 days in the NBA because he's on that 2-way contract. So they are playing better, and they're playing better with Green doing nothing more than kind of being actually the leader and the
facilitator more than anything else. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yep.
But Phoenix has regressed, and Phoenix. I'll take in this point. I'm still going to say GS, guys. At this point in this season and current form and what's going on with these two teams, I'm going to take GS in the points.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, DeAndre Ayton will miss this one. I guess it's still going on with ankle problems. Rob, I don't know. Are you buying the Golden State Warriors, man? Are you starting to believe that? Well, listen, obviously not this year, but let us not forget who they get back next year.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 games of this 3-game winning streak, I guess we could justify as they're teams that are in the same boat as Golden State,
right?
Bottom rung teams. The win over Houston is a different story altogether. That fourth quarter especially, Joe, because the game, let's face it, it was close through 3 quarters. And in the fourth quarter, the Golden State defense just really is what turned that game around defensively.
Yep.
And, you have to wonder how consistently Golden State can summon up that type of energy. I mean, it was a big day, national television. You want to perform for everybody out there. It's a highlighted game. This is no highlighted game, Phoenix and Golden State. This could be right back to the norm. I'm just surprised that in Golden State games, somebody out there keeps pushing these totals up and over. This game moves towards the over again. Golden State is not, a high-scoring team anymore. They don't have offensive prowess for 4 quarters on that team. What they are, for the most part, is a better defensive team because the kids hustle. That's basically the bottom line. They're winning on hustle. They're not winning on overall talent. They're winning on sheer desire. Is there enough of that tonight against Phoenix? I'm not sure. The Devin Booker versus D'Angelo Russell matchup probably cancels itself out. Either one could outplay the other a little bit here. But I think the rest of the deal might go to Phoenix offensively and Golden State defensively. If I had to play this one, I think I'd be on under, but it might be better just to watch this one through because I think, as far as the rosters are concerned, I like Phoenix is better. But you can't ignore what Golden State's doing with determination right now.
It's interesting you bring up the total there. Devin Booker not able to reach the 20-point mark, I believe, in his past 4 games. So I don't see how Phoenix is going to put no Ayton. You've also got a Golden State defense that the last 3 wins, they've held opponents to 104 points or fewer there, Dr. Chuck. And yet we're looking at a 220 game total here, somewhere in that ballpark. Are we over-exaggerating here? Maybe there's a little value to the under in this game?
Well, so I'm more with Tony. I'm more with Tony on the side because I totally think that it almost makes no sense that the Warriors are even dogs. I know that it's almost they didn't have a choice, but to your point with Damian Lee, I mean, my God, he's proving himself to be a little bit like Barkley and Rodman, but also a 2. And the dude also, he gets himself to the line. He takes good shots. He makes them, and he doesn't miss from the line. Has he missed from the line this year? I don't know, but I don't think he's missed from the line this month. And I mean, this is how you get a job, a permanent job in the NBA. That's for damn sure. But I would not give up on that. I mean, he is still, I think, lower on the totem pole as far as the scoring. I mean, I think they're looking to Russell and maybe, Baby Dog for ahead of Damian Lee. But can we go back to this one game, which Rob mentioned is the game that maybe proved it? When can we, and the Rockets aren't on the slate tonight, so we can't discuss them too much, but and you brought up Westbrook, and I don't know if all 4 of us agree, maybe with that Joe and I agree with, but who gets held accountable for the fact that Russell Westbrook is doubling up Harden's shots? I mean, this is not, I don't know, it's frustrating.
It was never a good fit. Westbrook
it really
is not. We need to put Westbrook and Irving together, and let those two absolutely destroy a court.
Yes,
I would love to see that.
And a building and everything else along those lines. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Hopefully someone comes into that locker room and says, what the hell were you guys doing? You lost this game to the Warriors, who had 7 wins, and Russell Westbrook had 34 shots, and Harden didn't even take 20.
Yep.
I don't know. But, yeah, I think for some reason, I can't quite figure out, I think this opened at 3, and now the Warriors are getting 3.5.
Yep.
And so to the point of Devin Booker, it's similar. It's almost like what Rob said. I think you almost took it from me and mentioned, I think this is Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker is going to force 30 points into the bucket tonight.
Okay.
And I think with the rest, and I bet he's frustrated, and I bet Monty's frustrated, and they've looked terrible lately, and they've lost their last 5 while putting up the worst defensive rating that there is, and they're giving up. Their defensive rating over the last 5 games is 120, and they can't even keep up. And we've talked a lot about Monty preaching defense, and he can't possibly like that. So that's got to be a good reason maybe to lean towards the under. It is creeping up. I think reverse line movement creeping up oddly. But, yeah, it just, how do the Warriors keep pushing it over? I don't know. But, I mean, if the Warriors are going to score 120 points tonight, then you're going to be bummed if you have the under ticket. But I make the Warriors to be at least a pick 'em here, and so I just think the value's nuts.
On the side, there you go. All right, best bets here time, guys, and we'll start with you, Rob Veno. Talk to me, my man. What game on the card are you looking at? What's your play of the night going to be?
I think the best spot for me is the Milwaukee-Atlanta over the total. We talked about it a lot. 234 is providing us 6 points less than what the opener was, just based on Giannis. But we know that this team has scoring options all over the place, and pointed out the 36-point fourth quarter the other day without Giannis. So for me, Trae Young and company are going to heave it up. They're a pretty healthy team right now. All of their chuckers are involved. Jabari Parker, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, a steadying force with points. So I'll play over 234 in the Milwaukee-Atlanta game.
Love that. All right, Tony Finn, talk to us, brother. Best bets on the board. Where are you looking here tonight?
Oh, there's 5 different situations tonight that I decided on for my clients, but I'm going to go with something outside of that. After the show, I'm going to go south of the border rather than north of the border, that as Mr. V just did, and I'm going to take the under in this Oklahoma City and Charlotte game. If the injuries, as we discussed, as Mr. V brought up, then I think that they'll try to control. They're much more capable of controlling tempo against a team like Charlotte as a visitor than most teams in the East. So I'll take the under 208. I think it's 208 right now.
208. That's correct. All right, taking the under there. And Doc, where are you going, my man?
I like both those totals. We didn't even mention John Collins tonight, right. And Ski's probably screaming at us right now. We haven't said his name until Rob just mentioned it. But yeah, that's another good reason to go over is who's going to. Are we counting on Brooke Lopez and Robin Lopez to stop him? And I guess that's another rallying point to the over, and I definitely like the under in Tony's pick. That feels like 98, 97 type game. So I can't really give you the Hornets. I think the Hornets win tonight. I wouldn't want to lay points with them. I've played them at +3.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. But maybe if you could get, and this wouldn't necessarily be my official play, but maybe if you could get the Bucks, maybe tease. What are you looking to do? A 4, 4.5, 5 point teaser. The Bucks down and the Hornets up. I mean, it's not fun to only get the Hornets back up a little bit more than what they were this morning, but still think that's a winner. I would definitely take the Warriors, and it's hard to make a best bet on the Cavs, but like you said, 2 touchdowns,
Right.
And I bet you the public is still going at them at 75% of the bets right now.
Yep.
So you might even slap on a hook to that later, but in even if the Celtics are housing them in the fourth quarter, like we saw last night,
Right.
who knows? The Blazers scored 40 in the fourth quarter last night, and the Spurs were down 20. And so I don't know. It's hard. I mean, you could probably make a best bet on Heat, Bucks, Cavs, any of those. But yeah, I mean, the 14 and maybe even 14.5 later, this feels like a single-digit game that the Celtics don't care that much about.
So we've got it. We got it in here. Shits and giggles parlay time here, Tony Finn. Give me a money line parlay. Give me the goddamn Golden State Warriors, and make sure you say their name, Finn, all right? The Golden State Warriors, and give me the Orlando Magic to bitch slap Joel Embiid here tonight. Put him back in his spot. +145, +150. Go ahead and cash the damn ticket tonight. Give me the Golden State Warriors on a money line and the Orlando Magic to get it done at home against a look-ahead spot, a team that could probably be disinterested as much as you possibly can be, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, wow, what happened? We lost the game. You're damn right you did, because we had them shits and giggles parlay time here, Finn. What do you think?
I think it's better. I think it's better labeled as a sissy bitch parlay. It's only a 2-teamer.
Thank you. Oh, you want me to add it? Because I'll add the Hornets. Don't piss me off. I will add the damn Hornets.
No,
right, and we will go.
I got you, man. I'm gonna go as soon as we shut down this episode of the best NBA show in our orbit.
Yeah,
I'm going to bet that son of a bitch.
Damn son of a bitch. I'm already hitting send right now, as a matter of fact. Rob Veno, always a pleasure, my man. Listen, good luck with the plays. Don't forget, Rob is loaded here not only tonight, this weekend, as is the doc over at sportsmemo.com. And I'm looking here right now. I see Tony Finn has got just a talk about shitload of plays you got here over at WagerTalk.com, up and ready to rock and roll. So, guys, a lot of ways for you to make money. WagerTalk.com, get over there with Tony. And then, of course, you got these two guys here dominating all weekend long, Dr. Chuck and Rob Veno over at sportsmemo.com. Gentlemen, always a pleasure on this Friday. Good to see that we found you again. So good luck with your plays tonight and this weekend. And we will talk to you again on Monday, I think, we hope. I don't know. We'll see Finn, but that's just punishment as far as I'm concerned.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Raineri.
Pleasure, man. Tony Finn, good luck, brother, man.
Karma's a bitch. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you damn straight it is. Shits and giggles time, guys. Good luck. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.